greatest show on turf was the toughest. I use the term ambient now to describe a player who is great and gives me headaches and won't let me sleep at night. Well, that was the most ambient offense that I ever faced. And then, of course,
YouTube's on. Should be. If you want to check.
We recovered it. And I think the relief, I don't know that I've ever been. I don't even know if I was happy at that moment. They've got a picture with me and Tom Benson. I've got it on my wall here.
Well, we got viewers.
It's live game, and I look like I'm comatose.
I don't know. Go to video. Go to videos maybe or playlist. I don't know where it goes. Go to channels, maybe go to NOLA.
Welcome to Zip Poll USA. Zip is the application that allows you to vote on America's most interesting and controversial discussions.
That's the shit.
And they're going to change. They need social needs to change.
Chrissy Teigen awkwardly corrected Ivanka Trump on Twitter when she misused a word in one of her tweets.
Well, Clyde
Does it bother you when people do this kind of thing? Now, 71% of men who were polled can't stand the grammar police, but women were split down the middle. 50% saying it bothers them. The other 50% saying it's kind of funny.
Did I even turn the
And which Halloween costume will be the most popular this year among adults? Sexy handmaid or sexy Wonder Woman? 89% of men and women who were polled are on the same page here and think there's going to be a lot of sexy Wonder Woman costumes out there. Answer all of life's opinion-based questions with just one swipe.
All right, 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
You think in the App Store.
Gotcha.
100% anonymous.
No. Well, not yet, but
Dunc and Holder live on a Tuesday, September 26th, as we are live in our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios here at the foot of Canal Street. And luckily, Jim, I'm learning this YouTube live thing.
I see that.
At first, I just had the camera focused on my shoulder, and somehow I fixed it.
The
right
three
before the
people
show.
watching on YouTube just got a really close up on your nose
and my technical issues, and look, I got it working. So there we go. YouTube Live's cranked up. Of course, that's the voice of.
I'm going back to being Pawpaw.
There you go. That's the voice of one Jim Derry, who is sporting his Sean Payton Pawpaw glasses because he's getting older and can't see. I can't see so well anymore.
It really, really, really stinks. Just wait, buddy. You'll be there before too long. You're right behind me.
I wear contacts, so that's.
So do I.
And you still need pawpaw glasses?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You will too, son.
No way. No chance. But look, we got an extremely jam-packed show today for you. And look, lots and lots to talk about. We're going to go across the pond. Jeff Duncan, of course. You know,
have a little bit of the fish and chips.
I know. You said he was going to have strawberries and cream. No, I can't see Jeff as a... I could see Jeff as a strawberries and cream kind of guy.
I could see him as a strawberries and Jack Daniels kind of guy.
He's more of like a red wine kind of guy.
Yeah, he is.
Exactly. So we'll talk with Jeff as he is in London. Our whole crew is in London. Josh Katzenstein, Amos Morale, blanket coverage of everything going on in London as the Saints prepare to take on the Miami Dolphins. 8:30 a.m. kickoff in Wembley Stadium on Sunday. So we'll talk with Jeff about the trip so far, and we'll be chiming in with him all week, so he will not be missed here.
Hey, what am I, chopped liver?
Hey, people like hearing from you. You come on once a week.
I know, but
you ain't no Jeff Duncan.
Boom. Around 10:45, we'll hear from the Grap, Todd Grappanini, the voice of the Tulane Green Wave. They are on a bye this week, but they are certainly on a high because coming off of the big win over Army. And we'll talk with Todd about that. And Dave, I know I've already put you on the gun enough, but if you could find the call of him picking up the win, that would be pretty cool. I'm challenging you. I actually have the call if you need me to send it to you. Just saying.
Okay, I'll give it the old college try.
The old college hullabaloo.
Which college?
Try. Hopefully, let's see. If he gets it done, it's the Tulane try.
College.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it doesn't happen, then it's like the University of Phoenix. So There we go. Top of the 11 o'clock hour, we'll hear from Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. We didn't touch on LSU's win hardly at all yesterday because of the Saints protests conversation that we had, and, of course, about the game. Well, I don't know.
There was a protest?
There was a little one.
Oh, okay.
There may be more. Now people are protesting against the Saints as far as legislators, and a Slidell Mardi Gras parade is protesting against the Saints.
Well, that'll keep them away.
Hey, we'll get to that news later on in the 11
o'clock hour. So they're protesting the protests?
Well, they're protesting by vetoing an invite, just like Donald Trump vetoed supposedly the invite, even though the Warriors weren't coming.
So what is this parade going to do? They're just not going to throw black and gold beads?
No, they had some Saints that are invited to the parade, and they have all of a sudden thrown those away, and they're not going to be in their parade anymore.
I'm sure those Saints are really upset about not being a part of the crew of Slidellians or whichever other crew.
We'll get to that later on in the show, because I also feel like
now they're not going to invite me.
Exactly. You're uninvited, too.
I'm host.
Exactly. But
I'll have to stick to Endymion.
I also want to make sure we get to perspective. We talked a little bit about it. I want to get Thomas Morstead's perspective. Myself and another reporter, we talked with him after the game, and I just want to play that conversation because obviously Thomas Morstead comes from a different outlook than the players who sat for the Saints, and the obvious outlook is that he's white. And so that's certainly something that I think that should be brought to light because, some people see this as just, a black thing, and it's no. And so I think that I wanted to get that out there, so we'll do that. And DeMarcus Cousins, Pelicans had media day yesterday, and Boogie had some interesting comments to say about the President of the United States. So I wanted to get that.
Can we play those on the air?
We can. Look, we made sure that we bleeped out a certain word.
Okay.
That's okay. But we'll hear from that, and then around 11:20, right before that segment, I want to hear from Rajon Rondo. He spoke to the New Orleans media for the first time since he was acquired by the Pelicans in the offseason. So we've got a jammed up show. We will fit in your phone calls if we have time. I'll throw the number out there. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. But I can't promise you we're going to have a ton of time for calls. So, when we have this show, we only got a 2-hour window. It kind of is what it is.
You're going to have time for me to talk?
I just have to intro the show.
Okay.
Got to get it all out there. You don't even know. I didn't even tell you what we were doing on the show.
No, because I didn't walk in until 9:50.
Well, I didn't even send you a text. I texted Dave at like 10:05 what the show's plan was going to be, so no big deal.
You texted Dave. You talked to Marcus. I mean, I tell you, I really feel like chopped liver today.
Well, you're in the same boat because a lot of times Jeff has no idea what the plan of the show is going to be until I lay it out on the air. So don't feel bad.
Yeah, but Jeff has that air about him.
Air about him.
What are we doing today?
He's like, I got my coffee. I'm ready to go.
Let's go. Turn it on.
Exactly. So why don't we just take a break here, intro on the show, and we'll try to get as much time as we can with our own Jeff Duncan, who is in London. So let's take a quick break right here. Again, Jeff next. Todd Graffagnini talking Tulane, 10:45. Chris Dabe talking LSU at 11:05. We'll hear from Rajon Rondo around 11:20, and then we'll hear from Thomas Morstead and DeMarcus Cousins. Not often you put those two in the same
sentence. Dave, get that 7-second delay ready.
We can't afford like a $1 million fee from the FCC, so we won't do that. So jam-packed show. Jim Derry sitting in for the Dunc, so we'll talk to the Dunc next here, Sports 1280. NOLA.com and the iHeartRadio app. We're Jim Derry as Dunc and Holder.
They say I'm nasty, but I don't give a damn.
Josh Innes.
The reality about LSU is we saw an incredibly ill-prepared football team.
Afternoons, noon until 2.
And that falls on the coach. 100% falls on the coach. And I gave Ed Orgeron the benefit of the doubt.
So many people just ripping Slidell.
Are they really?
Oh,
because
I
grow
tweeted
your
that
food yourself. How do you know where it comes from and what's been done?
People are just
People
are just crushing
Our dietitians
Slidell.
verify that the food you're buying is good for you and good for the planet. Make dining
it's
easy.
the
Eat real. Look for us in your city and at eatreal.org.
The IRS doesn't mess around. If
They want your money, they'll take it. They can take your paycheck and bank accounts too, even threaten your home or business. And it's about to get worse. The IRS just hired an army of new tax enforcers. So, if you owe back taxes, the smartest thing you can do is call Optima Tax Relief. Optima has access to a special IRS tax assistance program called
Wait, what?
Fresh
I did
Start
talk for about 5 minutes straight without
are
taking a
saving
breath.
thousands, even tens of thousands.
Let me just get all this out of the way.
This is
Stop
definitely
the demand
I'm
letters,
retweeting
stop
this.
aggressive collection actions, and stop that army of new enforcers from targeting you. But don't delay. It's important to act now while you
Get a
still have
life,
options.
people.
Optima
I'm sure
is
they're really
A-rated with the
upset.
Better Business Bureau. Optima has already resolved over $500 million of tax debt for their clients.
YouTubers.
Get your
Might have
life
just done
back.
them a
Call
favor.
now for your free consultation.
Call
I'm not trying to start a fire.
800-798-2477. That's 800-798-2477. 800-798-2477.
Here's the thing: Vaccaro and Okafor both might not be back next year anyway.
Some restrictions apply.
Okafor's on a one-year deal, and Vaccaro's on the last year deal. So they might have just skipped it anyway.
iHeartRadio Music Festival. 2 nights, one stage, over 20.
Yeah, I think they're going to invite me instead.
Celebrated with
They might.
iHeartRadio fans from around the world.
They start getting desperate.
That is desperate.
2017 iHeartRadio Music
There's
Festival.
like Alexandra
Coldplay,
Cranford
DJ
when you hear
Khaled,
she's in
Thomas
like
Rhett,
5
The
parades.
Weeknd,
Never in any parades. Yeah, TV peeps always get parades.
Catch our iHeartRadio Music Festival TV special Wednesday and Thursday night, October 4th and
My
5th
buddy,
at 8 p.m. Eastern and
is,
Pacific on the CW.
Like runs.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back to the show. Jim Derry filling in for Jeff Duncan as he is across the pond.
Nice song choice, Dave.
And
You're welcome.
And I will say that I did get an email from our music expert, Todd T. in Jackson yesterday, and he enjoyed the playlist very much. Now, of course, the later on you get into the week, and
yeah, buddy,
he gets angry, and Jim gets happy when it's Country Fried Friday. A little bit of news just now. Might as well throw it out there with a local tie. Kicker Cairo Santos, former Tulane kicker, now with the Chiefs, the undefeated Chiefs. He's on injured reserve.
Yeah,
that's too bad. But he's not going anywhere. He's been a stud his whole NFL career.
Made some clutch kicks and done a really good job. But you could tell he was hurt when he got hit the other day.
Oh, I didn't even know he got hit. So I was too busy dealing with protests and Saints winning and everything else.
I'll tell you this, as someone who is able to sit at home and watch the Saints on one TV, and the first one's done in the noon games, so I got to be able to focus attention to the other games, and there was about a half an hour of some of the best exciting football action compiled that I've seen in a long time. It was just all kinds of crazy stuff going on all over the league. From about 310 to 340.
Well, the ratings certainly showed that, because despite the protests, it was one of the better ratings weekends in the NFL. Hey, Dave, I as you know, I'm not able to use my phone since it's running YouTube. Jeff Duncan here. We have not scratched out your name, but we do not have a head on the stick for you. I'm sorry, Jeff, but we.
Yeah, I knew it wouldn't take long for me to be forgotten. Back in the Big Easy, it didn't take.
It's kind of sunk in a little bit.
Hey guys, it's like 56 degrees.
Oh,
out.
stop!
Yeah, it's going to be perfect football weather on Sunday. It might even get a little rain, which is not surprising. Heathrow Airport, when I already ran into a big pack of Houdat's in black and gold, head to toe, from Austin, Texas, coming over here for the week.
That's the Dunk that decided to go to London anyway.
Not yet. No, it hasn't reached over here.
Good.
None of that's going on over here. Although we are telling everybody we're from Canada. We don't want to. We don't want to represent America. With all this craziness.
I'm not touching that one.
Oh boy, Jeff Duncan joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. That's so weird to say. As he's live from off here in the States. Jeff, haven't talked to you. Your perspective on the game. Saints obviously played one of their best games we've seen in a long time. 34-13, beating the previously undefeated Panthers. Just your overall scope of the game, and then I do want to get your perspective on the protest. But first, your perspective on the game here.
Well, I think you and I both were in agreement that the Saints had a great chance to win that game, and I think it played out exactly like we thought. They were able to take the crowd out of the game early after they got the lead, and the defense just played, I think, lights out, by far their best performance of the season. 3 takeaways, and another game, guys, without a turnover. And this is the third game of the year. This is the first time in Saints history they've opened 3 straight games without a turnover. You're going to win a lot of games when you don't commit a lot of penalties. They had 1 penalty in that game, no turnovers, and really wasn't a whole lot to complain about on either side of the ball. It was just a dominant effort, and boy, they needed it. You could tell they wanted it too, couldn't you? I mean, they wanted that game more than Carolina. You could just see the sense of urgency.
Oh, Jeff,
Jeff,
absolutely, yeah. And just being there, you could just even in the locker room, you could tell that almost they were galvanized with this. And I'm sitting with Josh and Herbie in the press box, and we almost jumped back because we're like, oh my gosh, they actually know how to intercept a pass and create a takeaway. And then it became contagious because the pass rush was able to get Cam struggling. And look, we've talked about how they didn't have Greg Olsen. Then Kelvin Benjamin gets banged up. Trey Turner got banged up for a little while in the game. No Matt Khalil, or Ryan Khalil, one of the Khalils at center, and the other one was non-existent because he was getting toasted all day. But the fact that you had complementary football, defense made takeaways, offense turned them into touchdowns, the total recipe for success, and we haven't seen that a lot from the Saints the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean that was the key to me. Those you said it, Larry. I mean, those instinctive plays like Kenny Vaccaro and T.J. Williams, and then the incredible catch of Marcus Williams. I mean, we haven't seen that kind of play out of the defensive backfield in a long time. Maybe back to the Darren Sharper days. So that was refreshing. Now, can they follow it up? I mean, I don't want to take anything away from the victory because the Saints played very well and very confidently deserved it. But I think Carolina's in trouble, guys. I mean, they looked lifeless and clueless on both sides of the ball. I mean, the defense supposed to be one of the top defenses in the league. They couldn't stop the Saints at all. The Saints ran the ball extremely well on them. Breeze was able to pick them apart through the air when he needed it on third down. I was really impressed with the way the Saints handled the money down, third down, because they've struggled on both sides of the ball there. This is a huge confidence boost for them now coming over here and getting a Miami team that could only put up 6 points on the hapless New York Jets. I think the Saints got to feel really good about their chances on Sunday.
You know, Dunc, one of the things I wrote about in my picks column, and I knew that they had done well against Cutler in the past, but I didn't realize how well they had done until I looked it up. But they played against Cutler 4 times, and after losing to him in 08 against the Broncos, they've just kind of destroyed him the past 3 times when he was with the Bears. They have 16 sacks on Cutler in 3 games. So, you know, that's got to be something that, you know, there aren't a lot of guys left around, Cam Jordan, but you know, when you get 16 sacks on a guy that's basically a statue back there, I mean, this is the kind of quarterback where if they can get any kind of rush, and Jay Ajayi hasn't done anything for the Dolphins, they have to be feeling good about where they are defensively, especially up front going into this one.
Yeah, I agree, Jim, because you mentioned it. The running game for the Dolphins did not get started at all against the Jets. And if they get one-dimensional, you can tee off against that offensive line in Cutler. And the Saints just have to keep doing what they're doing. I wrote about it today. They're playing very efficient football, not turning it over, not committing penalties, you know, playing solid now a little bit on the defensive side of the ball for the first time all season. When they're not going against Tom Brady, you see that they're not quite as bad defensively as we all thought. And I just think the confidence and the sense of urgency that they're playing with, it should carry over. I'm sure it will. But you're going to get a different Miami team, too, because they're coming off an embarrassing loss. So you're probably going to get their best shot. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond, both teams respond in this game, because it's going to be sold out. It's going to be a huge crowd at Wembley Stadium.
Jeff Duncan joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Jim Derry sitting in Jeff's chair stateside in New Orleans. Jeff is in London. And I'm still just running the show in the old chair as well. So, hey, that's okay. Jeff can globetrot. I'll keep the train rolling with Jim, trying not to.
But we get to go to lunch with Marcus.
That's right. We get to go to down the street where Jeff and I go all the time. You know, regular old Felipe's lunch for us. No fish and chips. But Jeff, as far as the protests. Obviously a huge story. It's continuing to be a big story. Look, you have Louisiana legislators now trying to say that they want to rip money away from the Saints. There's a parade that has in Slidell that's booted.
That's what you want to call it.
That's booted Kenny Vaccaro and Alex Okafor out the parade because they don't want them in it anymore because they protested. First, were you surprised at how many people protested, and then just the reactions from, say, Sean Payton and Drew Brees and others who were on the sideline for this?
Well, I don't think I was surprised, Larry, at how many players did, decide to protest in various ways. It did surprise me a little bit that Sean Payton was adamant in his opinion about the president. I know Sean Payton is a Republican, and yet he took a very strong stand against his comments. And I think President Trump's comments spurred this. They really poured fuel on the fire, and have now created something that, frankly, was probably, a month ago going to kind of go away. I think there was probably going to. I think at the beginning of the season there were 4 or 5 players that were protesting kind of quietly. Now this thing has become a brush fire and is getting all kinds of attention, and is going to, I think, lead to some change and raise some awareness in America that it wouldn't have if it wasn't for the president weighing in on it. And I'm very, very impressed with how the Saints handled it, not only from the ownership statement, but also the way the players bonded together. I think they made a very powerful, strong statement of unity, and it'll be interesting to see how this goes forward, guys. Not just with the Saints, but the rest of the league. If it continues on, I think it will, don't you? I mean, I don't think this thing's going away anytime soon.
I think it will continue on. Now, I don't know how long. It's hard to say because it's not like the Saints had players doing this all along, and maybe they do a different tactic. I'm not sure. Maybe they stand arm in arm, because that's the last time, Jeff, if you remember, they did that with the Falcons of all teams, and they did kind of a unity circle in the middle of the field. But I'm curious to see how long this goes on. And also, Jeff, what do you make of Drew's stance and how that might actually play out in the locker room?
Well, I think Drew is, understanding his spot. He's having to straddle the fence a little bit there, but I think he also knows that his teammates are looking to him for leadership. It's very similar to the way Tom Brady has handled this in New England, and the way Aaron Rodgers has handled. In other words, you're going to stand with your teammates, but your personal beliefs might be, a little cloudy because of the whole stance. I think it's a very complicated issue, and I think what everybody in the NFL has decided is that they're not going to allow people to divide us in America when they know that they have this incredible platform in our country to
maybe that's not the case.
I mean,
maybe that's not the case in Carolina.
Football, yeah, I mean, pro football is it's a great example. We go and cover sports all the time, and divergent personalities and beliefs and religions and ethnicities and creeds. I mean, it's different than just about anything else we deal with in America. So I think it's a great platform for our athletes, and I'm very proud of the way people have handled it, and hopefully it leads to some change in our country.
Well, Jeff, just our buddy Joe Person from the Charlotte Observer just published a story saying the headline, amid growing anger and frustration, a group of Panthers to meet with Jerry Richardson, because Jerry Richardson, I think, was the only owner to come out and basically say stick to sports. And I was talking with Joe after the game, and it sounded like that the players weren't happy with the way Ron Rivera handled it, because the only person that I noticed doing anything was Julius Peppers. And so I'm curious to see how this plays out. I mean, you talk about a team that came out listless on the field. Hope the Saints, honestly.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think this has become so big right now that it's going to have to be addressed by every owner every general manager and head coach with each team individually, because it's become almost bigger than the game. I mean, it was what everybody was talking about last Sunday, and the front page of Monday's sports section in the New York Times was, if you saw it, was an incredibly powerful display of just photographs from every sideline in the NFL with no text at all, just the photographs and the captions. And I know New York Times had 2 stories in Tuesday's front page about it. So I think this has become really one of the more polarizing stories we've seen in sports in a long time. I mean, you probably, Larry, JD, I don't know if y'all seen it on social media, but if you make any comments about this issue, people are one way or the other very strongly and passionate about it. I've had friends text me about it, wanting to end their season tickets with the New Orleans Saints for what happened. You mentioned the crew over in Slidell. I mean, it's a very passionate story, one way or the other.
Yeah, Jeff, I actually had.
I don't think it's going away.
Yeah, Jeff, I actually had the son. I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to name names, but the son of a Saints Hall of Famer emailed me yesterday right before the show, and it was just a 3-letter subject. He said, "Done with NFL," and that was it. And so the fact that you have both sides of the coin, and Jim, you could attest to this. Yesterday we talked an hour about the subject, and we had both sides of the coin yesterday, and I am going to applaud our callers yesterday. They were passionate but civil, and I think, Jim, you can attest to it. I mean, that's what we were hoping for, and we're glad we actually got it.
Well, scrolling through social media on Sunday evening, I saw it in back-to-back comments on not on my page, because I'm not touching this on my social media page, but I saw somebody say, "Well, you can have my season tickets. I'm giving them up. Forget me," or whatever, how he ever said. And the next person to comment says, "Call me, I'll take them."
Well, now that they're winning, call me, I'll take them.
So, but it's not going to affect the NFL in a negative fashion. Not enough to make a difference. I don't believe. And like Dunc said, these guys are unified about this subject, and no matter whether we agree or disagree or whatever, I agree. I said it yesterday with Tony Dunc. He said he's never seen the league more unified since maybe the 1982 strike, and I think I agree. That these guys, the owners, the coaches, except for Carolina, obviously, but the owners, the coaches, the players, they are finding a way to make this a rallying point, and I think the way that they handled it, I actually think they, even if you don't agree with protesting, the kneeling or sitting, I mean, they really were pretty classful about it. No one was, they could have screamed or made some kind of gestures or whatever, but I thought it, Duncan, you can respond to this. I thought it was a classy way to handle it.
Yeah, look, I agree 100%. The thing that got under my skin was the response of some of these Louisiana politicians grandstanding state supplements to the New Orleans Saints. I mean, give me a break on that, guys.
That's not going to happen.
We've got more important things in our state right now than jumping on a soapbox and trying to grandstand. It's classic Louisiana politics. Just make stupid stuff like that.
Well, Dunc, we have a potential war in North Korea, and our president's worried about what the NFL players are doing on Sunday, so it's not any different nationally either.
Yeah, and I tell you what, guys, I think you agree with me. Look, it's a huge story, and we're going to continue to cover it, but it's also nice to talk about football, too, from time to time, because it's I realize they have a powerful platform to make a statement and maybe make a difference, and they're certainly doing so.
I hear you, Jeff. Hey, we will talk football the rest of the week. We will talk about your story with the Morstead family is going to be coming up. Thomas made sure to remind me that Jeff will be meeting, I don't know, every Morstead known to mankind, it sounds like, in Great Britain.
Look, Michael DeMacher and I, Larry, are heading up there tomorrow morning, up to Bealsby. It's a little village in northern England. If any of the listeners out there have their Google Maps open, Google Bealsby, England, and you'll see where we're going on a train. little village of 95, and almost everyone in that village is related to the Morsteads and the Finnecks. It's going to be a great story. Really looking forward to it. It'll be in next weekend's paper before and online on NOLA.com before the game on Sunday.
There you go, Jeff. All right, that's Jeff Duncan. We will check back in with you tomorrow and the rest of the week and talk about that and some football. So, hey, Jeff,
enjoy yourself, Dunk.
Appreciate it.
Okay, guys, enjoy. Don't get too comfortable in that seat, Jay.
Feels real nice right here, Dunk.
Ooh, he's going to take it and run with it. So that's Jeff Duncan on the iHeartRadio app. We're Duncan Holder.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
You know, it's
this
a really
report is brought
interesting
to you by
story.
McDonald's.
A drier and warm stretch as we head into the middle of the week here. Temperature-wise,
it really could have had a
approach
major.
the
It could have had an effect.
I'm calling Graf now,
Why don't we just do like a
but doesn't seem like
quick
it's going to
segment
be
and then call
as
it Graf.
dramatic as we were hoping it would be. Still bringing some drier air into the
I'll
Weather
go
Authority and
20
Bounce
minutes with
TV. I'm meteorologist.
Soft drink, sweet tea, or coffee for just $1.
Dave, you good with just doing a quick segment and then calling Graf?
Yeah, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah, because I don't want to get Graf on and then we run out of time on the break. I know we got to take another break.
And incentives, financing available, great food and giveaways. There are 5 United Rental locations to choose from all over the metro area.
All right.
Ego, St. Rose, Houma, Mandeville, and soon New Orleans East. The big event is Wednesday, September 27th at United Rentals, 10385 Airline Highway, St. Rose. Light towers, welders, air compressors, booms, scissors, forklifts.
The Home Depot is pouring more into paint.
I know.
And putting more money into the pockets of pros with top covers better and cost less at the Home Depot. Nobody beats our prices. Guaranteed.
Because
More
could I
safe,
see myself
more
being Thomas Morstead
US
standing with my buddies?
Everyone does
There's
it.
no
In the
question.
living room,
Of
the
course.
garage,
There's
at
no
the kitchen
question.
table.
You
Everyone
don't want to be
But I don't
outside.
need to. But I don't need to
Teacher, the
kneel.
neighbor,
But
the
I would
coffee
certainly
guy.
be
Hey,
over there to
stand
support
right
them.
now.
There's no doubt.
I'm talking about listening to radio.
All right, 30 seconds.
And radio ads like this connect with 93% of Americans a week.
Don't get
That's
between
bigger
a
than
man and
TV,
his notch.
Facebook, and Google. So if you're a marketer, with radio, you reach more of who you want. More boomers, more Gen Xers, even more millennials. So get to iHeartMedia.com for the one place everyone is. AM/FM radio. Come on, everyone's doing it.
Unless you grow your food yourself, how do you know where it comes from and what's been done with it? That's why we started Eat Real Certified. Our dietitians verify that the food you're buying is good for you and good for the planet. Make dining out easy and eat real. Look for us in your city and at eatreal.org.
This is Duncan Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back. Larry Holder, Jim Derry here with you. Just got off the phone with Jeff Duncan in London, and already sounds like there's a large contingent of Saints fans already making their way over there. I assume if you're going to be a Saints fan and you're going to London, you go early and make it a week of it.
Certainly a lot of Morsteads.
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah, that's going to be a cool story.
Really will be.
Yeah, Jeff's going to be hanging out with the Morstead family, and there will probably be about 40 of them. Thomas even told me that after the game on Sunday. He's like, Jeff's going to meet them all. And so he's going to do a really cool story. And
He's a really good dude.
Yes.
I mean, and he's really embraced since just, he came here at a pretty good time. But, since coming here, he's really embraced.
Girl. Beautiful family. He marches in the Irish Channel Parade every year.
He's definitely one of those guys that's going to stay here after his playing career is
There's
over.
no doubt. I've run into him once or twice.
You drink margaritas?
No, I don't ever partake in adult beverage. Of course I do. What's the matter with you? If it's got lighter fluid in it, I'll probably drink it. That's just the way it is.
Well, that's right. You're still young and you don't need those reading glasses.
No, I don't need the pawpaw reading glasses. I am almost 40. Look, I'm a few years away. I'm 37, so almost. Look, Drew Brees is a year.
I remember when I was 37.
Just to put in perspective, Drew Brees is a year and a day older than me. So put that.
Wow.
That's how you put that in perspective.
So you could still be playing in the NFL had you had that God-given talent.
I would be Romo calling the game like Romo was last week when Tom Brady and Drew Brees played. But no, it's the story about the Panthers and the players having some friction with Jerry Richardson.
Big story.
I think that's going to be a big story. That's going to be played up across the media all day and probably all week and now all season because Jerry Richardson and the Panthers, their statement was not in the same sort of tone as everyone else. And also last night, you saw Jerry Jones take a knee with the team. Now, they didn't kneel during the anthem.
Right.
And I will say this, that has gotten a lot of more positive feedback than what some of the other teams and players have done.
Think what you want about Jerry Jones, okay? And look, growing up, I was a Saints fan, but I was also a Cowboys fan because I loved Roger Staubach, and the Saints were never any good. So at least I had a team to root for in the playoffs. But when he came in and fired Tom Landry, I was really upset, blah, blah, blah. But this Jerry Jones is actually, I mean, it's hard to not respect the guy. He's obviously, and I've met him actually twice, and it's hard not to respect him when you're standing in front of him as well, and the way he talks to people. And he obviously cares about his players and their feelings, and he has this hard stance. It is, to him, it is a disrespect to the flag to kneel or sit. And so he came up with a compromise that seemed to work for his guys. And watching last night, I looked across the eyes of those guys, and especially there was this gaze by Des Bryant, and it's hard to put into words, but you could tell that they were all with him and that they respected their owner's decision. This is the way that I feel about it, but I'm willing to come up with something that we can all agree on as a way to protest, because I haven't heard one person one person in the NFL, not one owner, not one coach, not one player, not anyone who's come out and said that the president's comments were acceptable. And
well, some of the team statements shied away from actually naming either Trump or even
but
mentioning
no one
the
has
word
said
president.
No one has come out and supported. No one in the NFL has come out and supported the president supported him.
No, well, I wouldn't expect that. I mean, if you attack the sport, I would expect backlash, and so that's what I think was the design of the message. So that's look, we're going to talk.
He's getting a lot of attention over it.
Yeah, look, we're going to talk a little bit more about it in around 11:30, because I want to play an interview with Thomas Morstead, the guy we mentioned, because he participated in a protest, and I would like honestly the words of a white man who grew up in suburbia, his take on defending his friends. And so I would like that. And also DeMarcus
Cousins. From Texas, isn't he?
Yeah. He grew up in Pearland, Texas. Yeah. So also DeMarcus Cousins had some interesting words for the president. We'll play that. But coming up next, we'll switch gears for a while, talk about actual on-field sports with the Graph, Todd Grappanini, Tulane radio play-by-play voice. Tulane, great win against Army. And we'll talk with him about the win and moving forward, how this could propel some confidence for the Green Wave. So come on back, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeart Radio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Jordy Holtzberg.
Defense is non-existent. Old, embarrassing results.
Sports 1280.
The $9 million man, Sean Payton's going to have to figure it out.
New Orleans.
You think everyone's watching that show with the girl and the dragons and the game and the throne. But just like the show, that's fantasy. More people in America listen to the radio than watch that throne show. It's true. Radio reaches 93% of Americans each week. That's more than TV, Facebook, and Google.
They always do, though.
But Tulane runs the same kind of offense, and Tulane was like 0 for on third down, and then in the final drive, they converted on 3 fourth downs. It was incredible. Tulane defense, I don't know how they held up.
The voice, Adam, Blake, Miley, and newest coach Jennifer Hudson battle for and never let go.
Yeah, Tulane had a pick in the. Well, no, when they decided to throw, they threw a pick in the end zone. Tulane threw it, picked it off. I mean, they made.
Falco stars in
I watched.
Dreams, but
yeah,
poverty will still those dreams.
That's actually a pretty big one.
All right, we got Graph.
Cool.
Their sponsor,
yeah,
with
gutty
Compassion.
win.
We got 1 minute.
Okay.
Child the chance to dream again. Find out how at compassion.com/radio.
For over 80 years, in the heart of Mid-City, where it's always been, is a New Orleans tradition. Mandina's Restaurant. Atmosphere. And some of the best seafood in the city. Always New Orleans. Always the best. Always Mandina's.
The Home Depot is pouring more into paint and putting more money into the pockets of pros with top quality paints without the paint store price. Like Glidden paints. Glidden lasts longer, covers better.
All right, 15 seconds.
Less at the Home Depot. Nobody beats our prices, guaranteed. So save time and money with Glidden, paints that get the job done. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only.
Handoff Dontrell. No, Banks keeps. 5-4-3-2-1. Touchdown, Tulane. Touchdown, Tulane. Touchdown, Jonathan Banks. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. 23 seconds left. Banks faked it to Hilliard, went on right tackle and scored.
And go.
Dave just got the Harvard Radio Award for pulling up the soundbite. Attaway. Better than University of Phoenix. Attaboy, Dave. Good job. I know you come through when you can. So right here, Duncan Holder, Jim Derry, Larry Holder joining you as we just talked with Jeff Duncan in London. Now we're going to switch gears and go uptown and talk with the Graf, Todd Graffagnini, radio play-by-play voice of the Tulane Green Wave. And Todd, I watched most of the game, turned down the sound on the TV, turned you up on Sports 1280, and let me tell you, I was driving to the airport when I heard I wanted to make sure I got in my car for the final drive, heard your play-by-play call, and stellar as usual, Todd. And a great win for the Tulane Green Wave, obviously.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Larry, and great job, Dave, pulling up the highlights. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I can attest that Larry Holder does drink margaritas. I can.
Graf, Graf, I don't think we needed that. I think we knew that already.
What? And we could, we could attest to that.
It was an awesome Saturday here, Larry. It really was, and and I thought Jeff Duncan, who was here, and by the way, I'm kind of upset at Jeff for not sticking his head in the booth and saying hey. But I thought he had a really good column afterwards, considering, look, Tulane beating Army isn't going to get a whole lot of national people to raise their eyes, and maybe not even locally. But the fact of the matter is, the way Tulane won it, and the way Jonathan Banks literally put his team on his back and converted 3 first downs on 4th down in that final drive, and basically doing to Army what a lot of teams have done to Tulane over the years, Larry. That's what really made it so special, and a game that the people in the stadium and I was actually pretty pleased with the crowd size, considering the early start and the absolute heat that had filtered into the stadium probably around noon, and it kept going. But just to see the joy on these fans' faces as they filed out, and a lot of people didn't leave after the final gun, and it was awesome to be a
21-17. And you mentioned the 3 4th downs. If I'm not mistaken, Tulane hadn't converted a 3rd down all day, and the fact that they were able to get 3 4th downs just was an amazing feat to me. And Todd, we could talk about Jonathan Banks, and he deserves credit, but the fact that Tulane's defense was seemingly on the field all day long, and they broke a couple of times at the end of the game to seal it up. Look, you gotta give your hats off to the defense, because if they don't have the guts to stick with them again and again and again, Tulane doesn't have a shot to win this game in the final drive.
I agree 100%. And look, I've been on the other end a lot of times, Larry, where you look at a box score and you're going, I cannot believe Tulane lost this football game. Now, if you didn't know who won or lost, and I would tell you that one team was 8 of 17 on 3rd down, and the other team was 2 of 11, and one team had the ball for 39 minutes and 18 seconds, and the other team had it 20 minutes and 42 seconds, there wouldn't be a doubt in your mind who won the football game, right? Well, the team who had the dominating 3rd down and possession time didn't win the football game. So the defense, considering the amount of time they were on the field and in the stadium that Saturday afternoon, it was nothing short of remarkable. Don't forget also that Army went for it on 4th down 4 times and didn't get it twice. And when Army is stopped on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2, that's almost impossible to do, the way that they run that option. So those 2 4th down stops, I thought the play of the game was Donnie Lewis's interception.
Oh, no doubt.
Late in the third quarter.
Yes.
I mean, to this day, and probably forever, I'll never understand why Army threw the ball in that instance. But Army was running it down our throats at the time, and we guessed. And they decided to throw the ball, and Donnie Lewis made a great play. That kept the score 14-10, Larry, in Tulane's favor, and got our offense back on the field and briefly got our defense a blow. But, you know, when it all is said and done, no one's going to forget a 19-play, 75-yard drive that took 5:09 left, and you heard the call. There was 23 seconds left. I mean, you couldn't have drawn it any better. Not only did Tulane score and take the lead, but Army had no time to do anything after the kickoff. So it could not have worked out any better.
Graf, I have some friends who went to the Oklahoma game and just had a great time. And after, even though the final score doesn't really indicate, how some fans might feel after that game, and then going into this one, this team has to really out and finding a way to win this game. Just talk about the sense of what's going on in Waveland and what the feeling is.
Jim, I don't think there's any doubt that what Tulane did in the first quarter and a half in Norman, Oklahoma, is going to have a long impact. They showed to themselves that they could go toe-to-toe with the second-ranked team in the country. Now, again, eventually athleticism and pure talent, won the day. But they showed that they could play with them, and that the offense that we run is capable of moving the football. And, defensively made some plays, did hold Baker Mayfield to a couple of 3-and-outs, which almost never happens. So the pieces are there. I just think, Jonathan Banks, what he did, I can't really overstate, guys, what Banks winning that game the way he did is going to do for this locker room, because now everyone's going to point to Banks in that locker room and saying, this guy can do it for us. This guy can do it for us. And, look, he wasn't 100%. There's no way he was 100%. Of course, he took that shot.
Yeah, he got hammered. Yes, 4th and 8, right.
Larry missed one play.
Right.
He was out for one play, and he came back in. And if that doesn't do wonders for the locker room and for his leadership now for this team, I think, again, the lasting effect is going to be immeasurable.
Todd Graffagnini, radio play-by-play voice of the Tulane Green Wave, right here on Dunc and Holder. And, of course, you can listen to all of his football and men's basketball calls right here on the flagship station for the Green Wave, Sports 1280 AM. Todd, up next, has a bye this week. They host Tulsa next week, 3 p.m. kickoff. It'll be on, of course, Sports 1280, and it'll be on ESPNU. Todd, you've seen Tulsa many, many, many years. This is certainly always a challenge. How do you think that Tulane, after the bye week, can come back and possibly pick up another win? That would
opponents, so that's very important. Now, Tulsa's struggling out of the gate right now. They're 1-3. They lost at home to New Mexico last Saturday on a last-second field goal, so they're kind of reeling a little bit. And it will be very interesting on Saturday because Tulsa is playing Navy in Tulsa at 2:30. So any Tulane fans want to catch that one, that's a 2:30 kickoff. I don't know if it's ESPN or CBS, but it is on Tulsa. Is going to get a little bit of what Tulane has gotten 2 of the last 3 weeks and playing Navy and Army in that triple option. But look, Tulsa's been a thorn in our side for a very long time. We were able to get them over the years, so it'll be nice to get them at home. And again, Tulane is 2-0 now at Yulman Stadium this year, so hopefully building a little bit of a home field advantage where opposing teams are going to want to not come in here because Tulane is playing so well at home. But we're going to enjoy this week off. I know it's one of the most overused cliches in the history of football, but it really is a good time for the bye week, Larry. I mean, it really is. Guys are a little dinged up. They've been going since July 31st, and will need a weekend off. So it comes at a pretty good time.
Graf, I got to tell you that a couple weeks ago I got a chance to sit in your chair and broadcast the St. Augustine De La Salle game. And it was my first trip to Yeoman, and I am jealous, man. It was by far the best venue that I have broadcasted a game from, and this includes the Louisiana Superdome from way up in the perch. But for people who haven't been to Yeoman Stadium, whether you're a Tulane fan or just a football fan or whatever, you need to get out there because that place is absolutely beautiful from everywhere in the stadium, and I just enjoyed it so much being there for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, Jim, and look, I am so glad that high school games are being played here. I know that you have to deal with the neighborhood, and you know you got to treat it like it's a Tulane game day. And of course, you're talking about security on the streets, and so it's not like, hey, let's come play a high school game.
That's what people don't understand,
involved. Yeah, there's a lot more involved than just opening the gates. But now that they are open, you're exposing other people now
in about a minute
to a venue that they have not been in before, and maybe, just maybe, they like it so much they'll come in and watch their local college football team, and it can only help. I know Jesuit and Rummel are playing when we're in Miami, Larry, so you might want to come check that one out. I'm kind of upset that I'm not going to be there for that one, but we're going to be on the road playing FIU. But you know, you get those local teams in here like that, and De La Salle and St. Aug and Jesuit and Rummel. I mean, that's awesome stuff. And
40 seconds.
Continues, guys. Let's hope it continues.
There you go, Todd. Don't worry, Rummel will be Jesuit, and you know be like old hat.
Right.
So there we go. Todd Graffinini.
We know they'll beat Shaw. So.
Todd Graffinini, radio play-by-play voice for Tulane. Appreciate the time. Hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. Switching to LSU, Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer, NOLA.com and Times-Picayune will come up next here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
The IRS doesn't mess around. If they want your money, they'll take it. They can take your paycheck and bank accounts too, even threaten your home or business. And it's about to get worse. The IRS just hired an army of new tax enforcers. So, if you owe back taxes, the smartest thing you can do is call Optima Tax Relief. Optima has access to a special IRS tax assistance program called the Fresh Start Initiative. And their clients that qualify are saving thousands, even tens of thousands. One call starts the process to stop the demand letters, stop aggressive collection actions, and stop that army of new enforcers from targeting you. But don't delay. It's important to act now while you still have options. Optima is A-rated with the Better Business Bureau. Optima has already resolved over $500 million of tax debt for their clients. Get your life back.
2477. 800-798-2477.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
WODT WNOE FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280.
The FBI's arrest of 10 people, including 4 NCAA assistant basketball coaches who are involved in a fraud and corruption scheme. Among other things, they say agents and financial advisors paid the coaches for introductions to their young star players and also to try to recruit those players to sign with them before they turn pro. The 4 coaches named in the complaint are Lamont Evans of Oklahoma State, Chuck Person of Auburn, Emmanuel Rich, Director of Global Sports Marketing, and Merle Code, former head of Nike's Elite Youth Basketball League. Among the complaints are allegations against an unnamed school in Kentucky, not named, which charges that a sports apparel company paid a young player.
All right, we got Chris.
Do you know the power of a good idea? The Latrim Corporation has grown through people and their ideas.
You got me?
It all started in 1949 when our founder, J.M. LaPere, invented LaPere Stair, Latrim Machinery, and Latrim Machine Shop. The people of these companies have patented hundreds of new inventions used around the world.
Dear John, uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. But when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
To get your high blood pressure to a healthy range, visit heart.org/blood pressure. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's the United Reynolds Big Equipment Sale, Wednesday, September 27th at 10385 Airline Highway in St. Rose.
Yeah.
Quality used equipment for sale, sizzling opportunities and incentives,
yeah,
financing
catch a break,
available,
really.
great food and giveaways. There are 5 United Rental locations to choose from all over the metro area. West Wego, St. Rose, Houma, Mandeville, and soon New Orleans East. The big event is Wednesday, September 27th at United Reynolds, 10385 Airline Highway, St. Rose. Light towers, welding,
John
air
Mara,
compressors,
very
booms,
unhappy
scissors,
with Odell
forklifts.
Beckham's touchdown
NBC Tuesday is
celebration.
back, all new. First, on 4-time Emmy winner The Voice, Adam, Blake, Miley, and newest coach Jennifer Hudson battle for amazing talent in the blind auditions.
I would think that would get
Order series
you
based
could
on actual events.
you could use the football as a prop, like the Chiefs. Like, one of the guys like shot a basketball and the guy had a
Our sold out 2017 iHeartRadio
like,
Music
do
Festival. One stage. Biggest artists on the planet. Celebrated with iHeartRadio fans from around the world.
I thought it was
Music's
creative.
Holy Thread, The Weekend, and more. Catch our iHeartRadio Music Festival TV special Wednesday and Thursday night, October 4th and 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on the CW.
Welcome to Zip Poll USA. Zip is the application that allows you to vote on America's most
LSU is
interesting
opening
and
next season
controversial
at
discussions.
AT&T Stadium
Download the
against
Zip
Miami.
app today. It's
Really?
Tuesday, September 26th. Chrissy
I
Teigen
got a very
awkwardly
close friend of
corrected
mine
Ivanka
who's,
Trump on Twitter when she misused
a
a word
Miami
in one of
grad,
her
so I'm
tweets.
sure he'll
Does
be
it
there.
bother you when people do this kind of thing? Now,
Because he's a doctor,
71%
he
of
can
men
pretty
who were
much do or
polled
go
can't
wherever he
stand
wants to
the
go.
grammar police, but women were split down the middle.
Just like
50%
us.
saying it bothers them, the other 50%
Sure.
saying it's kind of funny. And which Halloween costume will be the most popular this year among adults? And think there's going to be a lot of sexy Wonder Woman costumes out there. Answer all of life's opinion-based questions with just one swipe. Download Zip, the polling app that lets you tell the nation what you think in the App Store. It's free and 100% anonymous.
The Autism Society of Greater New Orleans presents the Stay Connected
You see
Talent
what's going
Show.
on with
It's
college
October
basketball right
14th
now?
at the
Now
UNO
what?
Grand Ballroom. Proceeds benefit the
assistant
Autism
coaches
Society
are
and Down
part of
Syndrome
like a
Association. Go to
scandal
asgno.org.
turn his
UMass
office
is
like
October
arresting
7th and
them and
8th.
all.
It's a 2-day bike ride from Hammond to
from
Macomb
Auburn.
and back to
Yeah.
raise funds and
Oh, yeah.
awareness
Is
for
this breaking
multiple
right now?
What
sclerosis.
is going on
All right,
this
30
morning?
seconds, and we got Dave on the line.
Message from Sports 1280
Sweetness.
Communities, helping to make a difference in New Orleans.
The home with top quality paints with your price. Like Glidden paints. Glidden lasts longer, covers better, and costs less at the Home Depot. Nobody beats our prices, guaranteed. So save time and money with Glidden paints that get the job done. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only.
Hour number 2 of Dunc and Holder. Jim Panini in the first hour. If you missed any of it, sports1280.com. NOLA. I can't believe I've got it to work 2 days in a row. That's a record for technology.
You just jinxed it.
And help with technology because he knows I am unsavvy and, of course, ridiculously savvy. So, Chris, if YouTube Live goes down in the middle of the interview, can you drive all the way down here and fix it? Because that would be cool. Please do so. We need you. We need all the help.
If it's anything like the technology, I can work. All it takes is pushing a button.
Well,
we just don't know which button to push,
Chris, that's asking a lot for me, as you know. But speaking of pushing out of the buttons as far as panic button with LSU, as they didn't exactly impress against Syracuse. I know they're going up against Troy, still a big favorite line. I know Ed Ogeron had probably talked about that after the game, probably talked about it yesterday. Is there any hope that LSU can fix some of these problems?
The short answer.
Being the offensive line, and Danny Etling was under a lot of duress Saturday against Syracuse, and Ed Ogeron said it right after the game that before looking at the tape, he felt like the main issues are on the offensive line. There seem to be some communication problems. They do a lot more shit the offense is asked to do. With all those shifts and motions, but then the linemen themselves, and it's not really a confusing offense. They keep talking about how it's a rather simple offense and it's just a matter of execution, but clearly something needs to be done after seeing what happened at Syracuse.
Chris, speaking of the offensive line, it seems to me that that Darius Guy's been a little bit more effective because he's a more physical, bullish type runner. Are a little bit more involved, and especially when they get in SEC play, he's going to have to be.
Yeah, it seems Darius Geis needs to get. He's a little more of an open field runner, as we've all seen the last couple of years, and he hasn't had many of those opportunities. He's broken off for some 20-yard runs here and there, but he's also suffered in the Mississippi State game, and of course he didn't practice 3 days last week, and suddenly practiced on that last Thursday and played only a half last week, and the same thing last week, and Geis ended up playing. So I think that there might be some issue there with Darius Geis in terms of seeing some of that game-breaking runs. He touched on something there with Darrell Williams being more of a physical runner. We saw Miles Brennan in the game, and he'll dump off to Darrell Williams later. But yeah, they need to get something going with the running game. They've always had a running game, and that's still going to be kind of a centerpiece with this offense.
People might not realize that Darrell Williams at Everett in his senior season rushed for 2,000 yards. Excuse me.
Yeah,
so
he's definitely waited his turn.
The attention because of who he was, but I mean, you know, this kid was rushed for more yards than Leonard Fournette did in high school, and playing at the same level as he
featured back. And LSU, as we all know, has a little bit of a history of it's not always the featured back that gets drafted in the NFL and goes on to have a sustainable NFL career. So it says something about the LSU backfield to have Fournette and Darrell Williams on Sundays.
Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Follow him on Twitter at CMDabe. And you brought up and Miles Brennan gets into a game where it is not a blowout, and Ed Orgeron's about 3 or 4 different angles as far as, maybe he wants to play him, or maybe they don't have confidence in his. You know, we talked so much during leading up to the season. Was this a real quarterback competition? It seemed more real than I guess maybe I put credence to, and now Ed Orgeron, to me, it seems like he's created a quarterback controversy here.
It wasn't a quarterback competition, that it was Danny Etling's job. He was going to be the starter, and of course he turned out to be the starter. And there was a lot of question of, what did Miles Brennan really do in those practices that we never got to see? That it was a pretty close competition. And my read on it now is they still have a lot of faith in Danny Etling. They like the experience he has. They can give him more of the playbook. They can call more with him, widen that playbook with Miles Brennan to a point where maybe they can do more. I mean, Ed Orgeron has talked about Miles Brennan having the physical skills to be a starter in the SEC as a freshman. Brennan can do as a passer, just the reads that he makes, how he throws the ball, all that kind of stuff. So I think when that matches, change. And I'm not saying that they're looking to make a change or it's going to happen, but I think they're going to keep feeding him a little bit more and more and more, and just to see where it goes. And this coming week is probably the last best chance to do it in a non-Syracuse game and this Troy game coming up. Has a couple of games where if Miles Brennan is showing them something in practice and showing what he did in the preseason, if they can give him an extended run, then that's what they would do, and that's what they did Saturday. And
they've run all kinds of quarterbacks in there since the Tommy Hudson, Mickey Guidry days. I mean, LSU is famous for using different quarterbacks at different times of the season. So, I mean, there have probably been, tests, and that's saying a lot because most teams don't do that. But LSU is known.
And one thing that I kind of see with this particular circumstance, though, is whatever struggles the LSU offense is having, I don't necessarily put it on Danny Etling. He
right.
Played as well as they would like, I'm sure, and Danny Etling would like. And so I think there's, from the fan perspective, I get the sense that there's a lot of blame going on Danny Etling when the offense doesn't go so well. But I don't quite see it that way. I think there's more of an all-around issue. It just so happens that Etling is there at quarterback, and he's not doing poorly. He handles it a little differently. It's a little quicker release. Maybe that's what's needed. I don't know. But we might find out sometime later in the season.
Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Larry Holder, Jim Derry here with you. What's the latest on the injury front? It sounds like, they're good. Ed Paris is going to be out with Darius Geis and some others that have been banged up.
With Darius Geis and then Rashard Lawrence, the starting defensive end, I think he makes all the difference in the world on that defensive front, that front seven. He's not expected to play this week just to kind of get healed and get ready to get prepared for the return to SEC play when they go to Florida in a couple of weeks. You mentioned Ed Paris, who's a backup in field goal drills. So in his place is Eric Monroe, a redshirt freshman. That's another young guy that they have on that defense, along with Grant Delpit playing safety and Greedy Williams at the other cornerback spot. So there's definitely a lot of youth there. Along the defensive front back there is rotating with Greg Gilmore, so having him back will be important for rotational depth on the defensive line, which has been helping that department. We saw a lot of two-man defensive line fronts. Syracuse run plays so quickly and so frequently that having the two-man front and rotating that way probably a good way to keep them fresh. We saw Arden Key with his hand in the dirt sometimes, along with Christian Lockacher and the rest of that front being linebackers. So having a
Chris Dabe covers LSU for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Follow him on Twitter at CMDabe. Hey, Chris, appreciate it as always, and I'm sure we'll be checking back with you here on the show. LSU is going to be playing Troy this weekend, 6 o'clock. That will be on ESPNU. The LSU-Florida game has been scheduled, 2:30 p.m. kickoff. That will be the following weekend on CBS. And then LSU-Miami will open up the 2018 season. Neutral site game for LSU and Miami, and another big one to open up the season next year. LSU's all too accustomed to playing these games. They play them every year.
Maybe I'll get a chance to see the Jones Palace, the Jerry Palace, whatever the hell.
Jerry World?
Jerry World.
Good job. You were close.
Well, it was one of the I got part of it right.
One of the things. Coming up next here, let's hear from Pelicans guard Rajon Rondo. Pelicans Media Day was yesterday. They start training camp this week. It's amazing because the NBA season sounds like it's getting started earlier.
They're not going to sign Dwayne Wade.
No, they are not going to sign Dwayne Wade. He is back with an old friend of his. Yes. ESPN is reporting that Dwayne Wade back with Cleveland. You knew that was coming once they had the buyout in Chicago. That was as easy as you could ever get. NOLA.com and the iHeartRadio app for Dunc and Holder.
Enjoy wines from around the world, great food, and the music of Tanya Boyd Cannon and box office John Plaza. Get your tickets to Wine on NOLA.com. Presented by Southern Glazers, UGNO, and NOLA 38.
Unless our dietitians verify that the food you're buying is
racist
good for
one
you.
way, racist another way.
Exactly.
I'm just like, oh.
I don't ever put something on my
You're on the stage.
Biggest artists on the planet.
Celebrating iHeartRadio fans from around the world for music's holy grail. Our Catch our iHeartRadio Music Festival TV special. Winter seats, cheap Halloween masks.
Hi, Dave. You got 6 Rondo cuts
with obstructed views.
Yes.
Thank you kindly. How'd it go yesterday for you? I saw your pictures.
Yeah, it went good. It was while Wayne was kind of handling all the interviews, we just grabbed all the liners, and me and Chris Gordy ended up not making it because we only had like 4 or 5 minutes with each player.
Sure, yeah. I know they were shuttling.
So we just kind of it's like, here, read this, read that. Use English as a second language, so I don't think we're going to be using Diallo.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly.
Beats our
Jake Diallo. Nah,
Save time and money with Glidden. Paints that get the job done.
That was like
Holy crap, I'm already coming back. Jesus.
Do it. U.S. only.
This is Duncan.
Welcome back to the show. Larry Holder, Jim Derry here with you at our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios because you can't even get up here. You got to go 31st floor and then walk up our little stairwell. It's just the way it works here. Because they don't want us in the mall.
Yeah.
Last thing they want is to put us hooligans in the mall.
You need me on that mall. You want me in that mall.
You want me in Saks Fifth Avenue.
Your wife doesn't.
She doesn't even shop. Look, she celery flip-flops there. They don't have it. My place is Academy, where I go buy dry fit shirts and flip-flops. That's it.
And they have to be on sale?
I'd preferably find them on sale.
See, that's how my wife is, but I'm the opposite.
There you go. That's good. That's good. So,
yeah, it is actually.
You know, probably our Pelican. He spoke with the media for the first time at Pelicans Media Day. Is the home flagship station for the New Orleans Pelicans, so you can listen to every game. Sean Kelly on the call, our good friend over on Airline Drive. But let's hear from Rajon Rondo. Certainly comes with a reputation. I could tell you he was on his best behavior yesterday. He was charming and affable. No, but
he's still excited about that pass he threw in the practice facility.
Oh, with Drew Brees?
Yeah.
He talked about how cool that was, and he's like, I wanted to be a football player, but to even go over and hang out with Drew Brees, he's impressed with Rondo's skills. He was wondering how on earth they had the quarterback challenge.
He had to have been a high school quarterback, I'm guessing.
It must have been something. I mean, obviously he's got the build of an athlete.
He does.
Even though he's very experiment, because he's coming in to play point guard. Drew Holiday, they're going to put an offensive setup.
Well, we have a new coach, offensive coach coming in. We have a couple new pieces. So, I feel the way I play the game, is a big issue. I'm going to try to preach, and what I'm trying to bring to this team is the defense. It won't be offense while we beat those particular teams. It's going to be our defense.
Pairing, to say the least. And here's what Rajon Rondo had to say with playing with the freshly signed.
We're trying to get our chemistry together early because obviously we're behind teams like Open State and teams that's been together a couple years. But for the most part, it's basketball at the end of the day. I pride myself on being unselfish, and we can come in collectively and.
Kentucky ties. You know that's one of the reasons why Rondo came to New Orleans. Here's Rondo on his relationship with Boogie Cousins.
And, I look forward to going out and compete with a guy like that every night. I haven't played with a guy like that since a guy named Kevin Garnett.
Played with some of the best. He's won championships. And a Kevin Garnett comparison, I think that goes along. We know how good Cousins is. To see, though, when you've got a combustible guy like Rajon and a combustible guy like Boogie, Alvin Gentry knows he has to be a psychologist sometimes for those guys, much less an NBA coach for those guys.
What I found more interesting, though, was the clip about him talking about how he knows he needs to build the chemistry with Holiday, because those two are really going to have to work together, and he knows Boogie already. So, like you said, that's probably a huge thing in preseason to see if he and Drew are able to develop the chemistry, because to me that is a huge unspoken key.
Oh, there's no doubt. And who's the facilitator? Who's the scorer? But look, there are a lot of questions, and we're going to go through this throughout the week because DeMarc's storylines change each day out of training camp.
Yeah.
So a lot of these comments will hold water. So we'll spread it out throughout the week. As Pelicans are starting up. Then how can this coexist? Because they focus on being a defensive team, and even Alvin Gentry want to play.
Can Gentry coach like that, though?
I think he's going to. Well, because look, I wrote a column today from media. In 1 year, you could eat the whole place could press the eject button. It could be Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday standing around with a bunch of guys they don't know, and a coach they don't know, and a GM they don't know by next year.
I think this is the most important.
Or I think when they were threatening to leave and the tickets and all that.
A really good job of building the most crucial year that we've ever seen professional basketball in New Orleans. They have to win this year.
Nothing, but they want to keep him. I mean, you can build around it, and we'll see what happens. But here's Rajon Rondo. He has Kentucky basketball alums.
Actually, they are. Alum means
I'd be a Harvard
but they
alum.
would never.
You weak-minded.
You went to where?
You weak-minded.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Anthony and Cuz are two different players, personality-wise, but they both can dominate the game on both ends of the floors and 4 or 5 different categories every night.
Thing. Like I said, raised eyebrows. I've got a follow-up question later on. So here is Rajon Rondo on Cousins and the Connect.
I'm back now from 81, and he puts some fear in a lot of guys in this league.
Dreams, just crush them.
I crush you.
Like Ivan Drago.
Flashbacks.
Yep, you and the iron sickle with the
exactly.
Ivan Drago here on the show. But this is an interesting thing here. the way Rajon Rondo potentially.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't, realistically, the last couple I think we have the right DNA, we have the right makeup. We have a lot of guys that haven't won that are hungry. We have experience on how we won. Like I said, you got Drew Holiday, you got a formula. We just have to, like I said, we all have to buy in and be on one page. And that
Believe it, we'll probably see after the season, because if he goes to another team, he says, "Oh, I don't think this team." That brings potential.
Well, there's no question about that, and that's
because I think the Pelicans are one of the bigger questions in the NBA. Can they take a step, or
will be one of those things where if they start winning, I think you'll see him play a whole lot.
I think absolutely. DeMarcus Cousins, and it both has to do with the NFL protest of Donald Trump's remarks about the NFL. Look, I mentioned Morstead's comments. He's up in suburbia and is trying to support his teammates who are at the brunt of some of these attacks. So we'll hear from that and DeMarcus Cousins' comments coming up next here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeart Radio app. Jim Darian for the Dunc, and I'm the Holder.
This report is brought to you by McDonald's.
A drier and warm stretch as we head into the middle of the week here. Temperature-wise, we'll see highs that approach the 90-degree mark once again. As dramatic as we were hoping it would be, still bringing some drier air into the region and allowing us to be a little bit.
And get a free large soft drink.
Oh, sprayed them. Oh, well, that's
get any size soft drink, sweet tea or coffee for just $1 anytime in McDonald's.
I should. Oh, I can't say that. Sorry, YouTube.
Oh, here we go.
Welcome to Zip
get away
Poll
with that on
USA.
YouTube.
Zip is the application that allows you to
do what
vote
we
on
want.
America's most interesting and awkwardly corrected
set it
Ivanka
up.
Trump on Twitter when she
2 days in a
misused a
row.
word in one of her
Sorry,
tweets.
YouTubers.
Does it bother you when people do this kind of thing? Now,
Especially
71% of
those
men who were
YouTube
polled
kids
can't
watch.
saying it's kind of funny. And which Halloween
Kirby's
costume will be the
column?
most popular? A lot of
I
sexy
know he
Wonder
called
Woman
me. He was
costumes out
talking
there.
about it.
Answer all of life's
I talked to him.
opinion-based.
I told him, I was like, I'm guilty of this sometimes too. But that's what I told him. I was like, you might want to
1 minute.
make your point.
What I'm trying to say is,
Not used to writing columns, I'm sure.
Do what?
People
Words
with
into a
diabetes
2008
die of a heart
story of
attack
Chris
or stroke,
Manhurts.
but you can lower the risk. Ask your healthcare provider how. For more info,
is pouring more
He
into
was like impressed with the
and
way
putting
he
more
caught
money
tennis
into the
balls and
pockets
warm-ups.
of longer, covers better, and costs less at the Home Depot. Nobody beats our prices, guaranteed. So save time and money with Glidden, paints that get the job done. The Home Depot, more saving, more doing. U.S. only.
Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back, Duncan Holder. Jim Derry sitting in for the Dunc, who is in London. We'll hear from him again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and probably the next day. So there's your tease for the radio.
When I dip, you dip, we dip.
Look, that's why I did a little shimmy. Exactly.
So, a reason to watch this show, not just listen to the show. Watch the show on YouTube,
right?
To see Larry Holder shimmy.
Well, I feel like that's why our YouTube viewership has trickled through the show, because of our insanity and borderline mediocre good looks.
Maybe it's just because they missed Duncan and I'm just chopped liver.
Go away. See you. Good talk. Bye,
All
Jim.
right. I'm leaving. I'm not coming back tomorrow.
There you go. Well, you won't be back tomorrow.
Exactly.
Herbie Teope will be on the show with me tomorrow, and I would recommend checking out his column just posted on NOLA.com, and he writes about the NFL's protests, of course, writes about the Saints' protests, but he's writing about it from him on Twitter. You know it because he constantly puts pictures of himself back in the day, a 20-year Army vet. He still looks young.
I mean, our boss, Marcus Camusha, standing over there, he looks like a 20-year Army
Marcus
vet.
always loves when he gets a shout-out when he walks in the studio. I'm sure he will be leaving here in a minute. But no, I want to keep on this subject. We ventured away from it for about an hour, but I wanted to bring it back because I wanted to get Thomas Morstead's perspective with his friends and his teammates, and obviously that says something about his stance on the subject. And we also want to hear what DeMarcus Cousins had to say, because honestly, he had some poignant comments, and then at the end, he had a pretty funny comment about Donald Trump. So, Panthers win in participating in the protests with his teammates.
What made you stop participating? Well, there's a lot of things that
we hang out together. Our wives are friends. You know, I don't have the same background as a lot of guys on this team. And the longer I've been in this league and the more I've gotten to know teammates, you know, it kind of opens your eyes to, like, different situations that people have grown up. Mark and Cam, to be specific, that are, you know, and Craig, that I just wanted to, you know, just be a part of that and let them know that there's, you know, guys disrespecting the flag or they're disrespecting our military. These guys have been on USO tours. Like, they've spent their lives like that, and so...
People do say that you're disrespecting the flag and the military. I mean, what's kind of your response?
You know, these guys, fans, is just when the president uses profanity to describe players in this bitch. That's really disappointing. You know, we have such an opportunity right now to unify as a country, and I know that it's the outsiders. I know their hearts. I know what type of people they are, and hang in there with them and let them know that you support them. So.
Did you ever, before this, think about
every detail of protest? There with those guys, they sang out the national anthem like I always do, and almost such a level that you can't even comprehend. Some of these guys come back with PTSD and other things that they're lifelong things. And
10 seconds.
Like I said, these guys, it's just something I wanted to do with those guys. So,
gotcha.
All right, thanks.
I don't think I would disagree with anything that he said.
No, you
I
can
just
understand.
maybe we didn't. I don't know, but regardless, I feel like if I were that feel they want to make a protest for racial inequality, and I would do the same route. Now, would I kneel? That's just not me. I wouldn't do that, but I would certainly want to acknowledge and defend their cause.
Whether you stand, kneel, sit, you respect where they're coming from and their opinion and what they're standing for, and vice versa. They can respect where you're coming from and your opinion on the deal as well. And I think with me or 53 players sitting on the bench or whatever, we saw them locked arms, and whether they were standing or sitting, they're all together on this. You know, their opinions may differ slightly, but they're all together.
Well,
what I'm saying, that's not. I don't need it necessarily mean it in a physical sense. I mean that they're together on. You can see that they're together in this whole thing.
Right. Well, even Drew Brees' comments, he wouldn't do that form of protest either, but he agrees that Donald Trump's comments were totally out of line and that there is racial inequality and inequality.
To call someone out on anything?
No.
Before?
Look, I think everyone with a brain knows that those comments were off base, and DeMarcus Cousins certainly found them off base. Pelicans.
Speaking of profanity,
star center, and we're used to hearing profanity from him. So let's hear his thoughts on Donald Trump's comments about the NFL protests.
It's kind of goofy if you think about it. A leader of our nation spends more time on Twitter than actually taking care of situations that is going on a daily basis. To refocus on the task at hand. I mean, if you're going to be in that position, let's handle the things that you said you were going to handle. I feel like the least of his concern should be, what's going on in the NFL. We got world issues going on, and they're barely being talked about. He needs to get his together.
Boogie put it only the way Boogie can put it, I would say.
Well, let's see. Let's see if he's right. North Korea, Puerto Rico, 3 hurricanes.
Healthcare,
NFL. Where should his priority? Why are we even talking about this?
Because he brought it up.
So? I mean, he brings up a lot of dumb.
But we don't talk about all those because we're a sports show. He brought it up because, and it's. I've never seen anybody, Republican, Democrat, do any of this. And
Never.
It's insane.
Never.
It's insane. So it's, I don't know, totally. Anyway, but I will tell you this. Locally, it's become a lightning rod. And let's take a break right here. When we come back, we've got Mardi Gras Cruise throwing Saints when we get back here on our final segment here.
Zeus Holder coming up.
Zeus.
Throwing them lightning bolts down, baby.
Oh, I was about to say, well, you mean the old wrestler Zeus that wrestled Hulk Hogan and No Holds Barred and SummerSlam '89. That guy.
You really had a sheltered childhood, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I was all American Dream there on old WWF.
Junkyard Dog, baby.
Exactly. So, well, hey, he's from Louisiana, man.
I know.
Come on.
Sylvester Ritter, man. He's the bomb.
Mid-South Wrestling. So we won't talk about that.
Join Corey Johnson on The Neutral Ground.
Is the
Sylvester Ritter? Nah, I think he's from Louisiana.
No.
And No Holds Barred.
The coffee guy. Hey, you're doing it
Damn,
right
he's
now.
been dead that
I'm
long?
talking about listening to radio.
You know how long he's been
Radio
dead?
is huge. And radio ads like this connect with 93% of Americans.
Yeah.
That's
I
bigger
didn't know
than
it was
TV,
19
Facebook,
years.
and Google. So if you're a marketer with radio, you reach more of who you want. More boomers, more Gen
We're
Xers,
both way
Gen
off.
I think that's
So
what
get to
you're saying. I think
iHeartMedia.com for the
die.
He died in
place
Forest,
everyone
Mississippi.
is.
Yeah.
Hey,
He was
FM
born.
radio. Come on, everyone's doing it.
The Ugandan
Hi,
giant?
this is Jennifer Kool-Aid. The American
Yeah,
Heart
no, Kamala's
Association
from
says
around
the disco
Really?
song Staying
Yeah.
Alive.
Not from Uganda.
Perfect beat for life.
No, you know who's
From
from
Tehran,
here?
Iran.
Sylvester Ritter
Learn
is
more, go
not
to
from.
Herbie's column's already
heart.org/hand.
Is pouring more into paint
Doug
and putting
Farrar
more
from
money
Bleacher Report,
into the
Jenny
pockets
Francis
of
from
pros
MMQB,
with top
so it's
quality
gonna get
paints without
pub.
the paint
I
store
knew it
price. Like Glidden paints.
By the way,
Glidden
Junkyard
lasts
Dog is
longer,
from
covers
Wadesboro,
better,
North Carolina.
and costs
Oh,
less
so it's not
at
even
the
from
home.
we were
Nobody
way off.
beats our prices, guaranteed. So
Is
save
he-
time
he
and
had
money
4
with
names in
Glidden
the ring,
paints
and 2 of them
get
we know.
the job done. The Home
Okay,
Depot.
did you know?
More
Big Daddy
By the
Ritter.
devastation of Hurricane Katrina. We all
Hey.
remember it. Our thoughts and our prayers are with those in Texas and southwest Louisiana affected by Hurricane
Hope
Harvey.
you,
The NOLA paid for
Where'd Leroy go?
the Foundation. These churches and volunteer organizations show the best of New Orleans. That's why I'm asking all of New Orleanians to pitch in and help pay it forward by donating today. Those interested in donating to the fund can go online to www.gnof.org.
That's the funniest thing I heard all
NOLA,
day.
pay it forward.
When Marlon Shirley was 5, he lost his foot.
10 seconds.
World's fastest amputee. He runs the 100 meters in less time than it takes.
Dunc and Holder now. Josh Innes next at noon on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Well, you knew the backlash was going to be coming, and it's coming from, and it's the first protest that we've seen from the Saints with since Colin Kaepernick started his stand and all of that. But we'll just read from some of our stories here on NOLA.com that House Representatives funding tax breaks and other support from the New Orleans Saints, saying, quote, disrespecting our national anthem and flag in the name of social injustice is the hot request that the Saints' state benefits be reviewed by the legislature, Senate, and House budget committees as a result of the players' protests. And
I guess they never want a Super Bowl to come back here.
well, I guess they would sacrifice that. I don't know. You know?
Oh yeah, well, because we'll sacrifice $350 million. Nobody needs that. This
No.
city doesn't need that kind of money.
And Harvard also saying, quote, I believe in the right to protest, but not at taxpayer-subsidized sporting events. The crew of Poseidon might be getting publicity. They have taken back invites to players. Kenny Vaccaro. Now Poseidon is saying thanks, but no thanks.
I cannot believe they're going to deny the 8 people who are going to be on the streets to see Kenny Vaccaro and Mr. Okafor. It's really upsetting to me.
Man, why are you ripping on the people would be there? What if like all of Slidell came out to go see Crew of Poseidon?
Actually, the whole city. I'm only half joking because really the whole city of Slidell does go to the parade. It's a big deal over there. So I am joking.
Well, the Poseidon captain Ronnie Kastner saying, quote, if you have a current hot button issue where someone may be highly involved in something that is divisive, by putting them in the parade, it could cause issues, and we're just not parade because they're in the final years of their contracts. Okafor is a 1-year deal, and Vaccaro is in the final year of his contract. They might not even be around, but look,
yeah, but
I
it's
assume this
silly.
is going to happen. I think the players assume this is going to happen. I'm wondering how much fans don't go to games anymore. What if the Saints are on a roll 2-2 and they come back in Detroit? Are they going to boycott the game? They're giving their season tickets away. It's over.
And then they'll be, I never said that. I mean, it's what we talked about yesterday. Do you really think that these people are going to boycott? Okay, they're going to boycott a game, or are they going to boycott the season? if the Saints have what I would call a miraculous comeback and actually make the playoffs, because they're still, I mean, I don't think you disagree. I know Mr. Douglas, recovery and find their way into the playoffs, and you think the city of New Orleans, these people that are people are gonna forget that they ever protested. You think it's not going to be the Saints playoff game's not going to be on that bar on TV in that bar in Chalmette that turned it off Sunday?
Well, if they want to lose money, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
If they start winning, here's the thing: any bars or any establishments that don't show the game, when they start winning and people start looking for places to watch the game, they lose money.
It's amazing how much winning, pardon the pun, but trumps your position on things.
You were looking for that pun.
I've been waiting to use that for 2 days.
Here's the thing. What if the 49ers were winning and Colin Kaepernick was doing this? Do you think fans would be turned off by that?
Yeah, but
I'm just throwing that out there as the argument.
There's a lot of hate and stupidity in this world, so yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, but look, we've talked about it for the good part of 2 days now, and you see venom coming from both sides. And then you've seen reasonable arguments coming from both sides.
We had a lot of reasonable arguments yesterday. And, I went home and talked about what we were talking about on the show. And I said, I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but I was genuinely surprised. We did not have one caller yesterday. And we had to have at least 10 or 12 callers yesterday. We did not have one caller yesterday who said anything that was off base, really.
No, like you could understand where both sides were coming from. That's why I don't want to sound Drew Brees-ish. I'll just put it to you that way.
People should do.
Let me just put it to you this way. It's better than lighting the flag on fire. I'd rather not. That is disrespecting the flag to me.
Well, that's a whole different story.
Well, exactly. But I have to suggest this.
We don't have any Rick Mundies coming out of the left field to.
And the Cubs do. But I would highly suggest you go to our front page of NOLA.com. Our Saints beat writer Herbie Teope wrote a column. I'll just say the headline: NFL players' right to protest is what I fought for as a veteran. Herbie is a 20-year veteran. Drill Sergeant Teope, and he turned around, and it was someone he had.
Really?
Yeah. So, but I'll tell you this: it's certainly something worth reading. And
1 minute.
Oh, by the way, Herbie will be on the show tomorrow.
I'll be listening.
We'll be talking Saints, and we will be talking this subject because he has a unique perspective. Downhill.
Can I come back Thursday, please?
You can come back Thursday, and then Country Fried Friday, you're going to be coming with cowboy boots and a hat, and it'll be all great. And you'll be able to make picks with Clyde. So
wow,
we'll be doing that. So
excellent.
Want to thank Chris Dave. Want to thank Todd Grappanini. Want to thank Jeff Duncan. And look, we'll be talking all things sports and some things protest because now they've become part of sports. So we will be talking about all that tomorrow's show. Sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube pages. You can check out the review of our show. So come on back for a Wednesday episode, 10 a.m. tomorrow here, Sports1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app.
Tomorrow.